Down the road, you met your co-stars in this film, your younger co-stars. Talk about the moment of meeting the younger you.
You got to meet the kids who starred in the first movie.
Yes.
Correct. And what was that like? Was it important to establish a connection with them in order to play?
Not at all, no. So I hate to be the minority here. No, I met Wyatt. We still don't talk.
Yeah.
Give me an epic question.
Okay, an epic question for you.
Yeah.
So what was it like, your relationship with Andy Bean? How can you describe that?
Andy Bean is the worst, man.
Yes.
No, Andy Bean is a very good human, and if I turned out to be like him, I would be pretty satisfied. I think I'd want a little more. No,
More?
No, more what? I don't know.
Chest muscles?
Yeah.
These are good questions.
Probably Andy Bean or something like that.
Oh.
I think I've
Good
heard
answer.
Andy Bean?
just out of
Us and
nowhere.
Andy Bean?
Yeah.
No.
So you got Bill Hader's job. Insane.
Insane.
Finn recommended you for the job, huh?
Finn in an interview said, "Oh yeah, you should hire Bill," and he wanted me to play him, and so I was like, "All right."
He's one of my biggest heroes, and that he would actually be in the movie is amazing.
And my agent called me. I was like, "Really? Oh wow."
So what'd you buy Finn to thank him?
Nothing. He's a 16-year-old, and he's famous. He doesn't need anything. What's he need?
So now,
Friendship.
Man, if it worked out and Bill Hader was a pretty good snapshot of who you became, how would that be?
I'd be pretty happy, but Bill just got a divorce, so...
Well, you never know. All right, except for all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope I don't grow up to be like Eddie. But I hope I grow up to be like James Vincent. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And for you, the first time you saw Jessica?
Actually, no.
Yeah, no, I thought she looked like me. She acted amazing, and she's just.
Do you almost think that, like, is that gonna be me when I grow up? Like, it's like in the sense of like, am I gonna look?
I really hope.
I just wonder.
Yeah, I watched the first one a billion times. Then I just watched clips on YouTube of Jeremy Ray Taylor, the young Ben's performance over and over again.
I also think Isaiah is wonderful. You can talk more about that, Joe.
Mr. Isaiah Mustafa, his last name means chosen, so we're destined to be each other.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Is that so?
Yes. Yes. He's a really sweet guy.
And then what happened with you?
Well, PJ, tell him what happened to me.
Oh, what happened with that? Chosen was so polite and giving to Isaiah that he just like won him over with compliments, and that like brought up all of his sort of like insecurities he has as an actor, and just sort of like won him over to become putty in his hands. So.
Were y'all able to like hang out with them and your older counterparts a little bit more?
Not really.
A little bit.
I don't know if we bonded necessarily, but we did try. We chatted, and he gave me a letter.
I heard the kids wrote letters. Did all the kids write letters to you guys?
Was this the kids messing with you, or was this like a homework assignment from Andy?
It was
Homework.
No, it was very sweet what the kids did for all of us. They wrote these letters. It was also very sweet because when we got there, all the younger actors wrote letters as the kids to their future adult selves, what they hope for those characters, their lives, and their wishes and dreams for them. I think the weird thing, though, we all kind of had a laugh about this, was they gave us picture frames of them as their characters.
It was good. It was weird because they gave us a picture of themselves too, framed. A framed photo of Finn Wolfhard as a child.
Framed. It was all pictures of us framed.
Oh yeah.
And Andy Bean got one too. Isaiah.
And we were like getting a good laugh about like, okay, let's get this straight. So we're gonna take these picture frames. I have a picture frame of Wyatt, a boy, young man, and what am I to like put it on my mantle? And his friends are gonna come over and be like, why is a little boy on your mantle? Who is this? So it's on my mantle.
We all had that same feeling when they gave those pictures. That was such a nice gesture, but we all were like, I don't want a picture of Finn Wolfhard. We're going to be like, dude, what's going on? That's just creepy. That's just not good. And I was living, we were all on location, so we're living in an apartment, and the only framed picture was going to be me, was going to be Finn Wolfhard as a little boy. And so I wouldn't accept it. Remember, he tried to give it to me, and I said, no, I don't want that. I don't want that in my apartment. Yeah, it was supposed to be sweet and everything, and then we all were like, nah, man.
But then the logistics came into play.
Yeah, I was like, I can't have this in my apartment. People think like, why do you have a picture of a Fifth Wolfhard with a letter that's like, love Finn? And everything? Like, I can't have that.
No, you sent Bill a picture of yourself and he refused to put it on his mantle.
I did send a picture of myself. It was Warner Brothers.
And Jessica, he went to you, right?
Yeah, so then he came to me. He was going to sneak into Bill's trailer and put it on his bed with rose petals.
And I was going to be arrested.
It was my plan.
This wasn't Finn Wolfhard coming up with this weird plan. This was our.
I like a joke. I like a prank.
That's hilarious.
I like a
terrifying.
prank.
Me getting arrested and being like, oh, it's like, come on, it's a good prank.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, I feel weird having a child's picture framed in my trailer in my house. Like,
is that your son?
Bill was like, why is there a picture of Finn Wolfhard in your trailer? And he's like, I don't know. So yeah, they didn't go for it. And I don't blame them. It's pretty weird.
Yeah. Was it weird when you finally met them?
It was like a speed dating kind.
Yeah, it was like speed dating.
Like little speed dating thing.
Like a speed dating thing.
We attempted to do like a speed dating thing.
Yeah, we did the speed dating thing with all of the adults.
Tell me about the speed dating.
So we just basically
I didn't really talk like to every adult version. We talked to our own adult version, and I learned a lot about PJ, and he learned a lot about me, and it was really fun.
I remember us talking to, I think it was PJ and someone else.
McAvoy.
And James McAvoy, and we were just yeah, makes sense. And then we just got deep into conversation. It was a lot of fun. We just got to know each other. It was cool.
Paired up together, and we had 5 minutes to meet. And
we're like all old and not cool.
Yeah, we were so cool to them.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, what's going on? I
definitely.
Right.
Okay, so real quick, give me one of the questions you asked, or one of the answers. Like, give me something that you asked during speed dating.
I don't know.
You don't remember?
I remember PJ Renstone told me that the Rolling Stones were a boy band.
I
The
remember
Rolling Stones
that
are a boy
too.
band. He's like, the Rolling Stones are a boy band. They're not even that good.
Wow, that's shots fired.
Shots fired.
I don't remember like what we asked. I feel like we just had like a good conversation.
Isn't every
but
band a boy band though?
Sorry.
If they're made up of boys.
PJ didn't think that Jack liked him because they were talking about music, and Jack's like, I don't like that music.
It was like music that he knew and Jack didn't. So
I shot the greatest movie I will probably ever be in.
Well,
it's funny you mentioned.
Well, because I'm a huge fan of James's work, obviously.
James Redstone?
James McAvoy, Mr. McAvoy.
Tell me about your speed dating experience with your.
I saw PJ. I keep calling him James Redstone. I saw him we went to this barbecue place, and I saw him, and I was like, "Hey, great to see you again." I saw him, met him once before that, and I was like, "Hey, great to see you again." And he was like, "Hey, yeah." And we stood there, and we stood there, got really awkward at the exact same time. We stood there, hey. But at the exact same time, it was so funny.
Yeah, I was with Bill Hader and Jay and Finn, and we had a great conversation. Just those guys are so genuine and down to earth. Those guys are amazing.
Bill Hader's down to earth, really hilarious.
Hilarious.
Bill Hader's a great guy.
In meeting Jessica.
Jay Ryan has been through some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
I
he's a
won't.
goddess.
That's for later. But he's been through so much stuff. Guy has
a lot under his belt.
Yeah.
Or on his belt, if you know what I mean.
Okay. I could see that. That's a good. Let's be honest. That's a really great.
So
I think blind date meet Wyatt and him were. He gave Wyatt gave him a lot of notes, and they had a stare off at each other.
Without a doubt, sized up. I was sized up, and Wyatt was looking at me like, is this guy good enough? And probably not.
Who would you want to play the older version of you? And everyone kind of had their different answers, and mine was originally Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Andy Bean, who actually plays the older version of me, made fun of that on. It was like a Conan thing at Comic-Con, and he was like, yeah, all he kept telling me was that he wanted Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which is only half true.
Yeah, I mean, there were times where I would give advice to Andy Bean, or just tell him
if he ever had a question, I would be able to answer that, and that's so interesting to take that kind of unique approach to acting in a way,
and to Andy Bean.
And to Andy Bean as well. I mean, you're just like, you're viewing it in such a different way than normal. You're basically directing someone else, and you're telling them, here's how I played my character, so here's just some tips and tricks.
Why I gave him a lot of notes.
We all met each other and tried to speed date our older versions, but it didn't work out, so we ended up just talking to our older versions, and they're really cool guys, and it's kind of weird being a young actor and they're looking at your role as homework.
Right.
Which is kind of funny because it's like, oh, you guys are amazing, so.
You guys have an amazing opportunity of having an entire first movie where people were playing your character 27 years earlier. How much of that movie do you go back and look at and go, I need to kind of get the mannerisms, because it is 27 years later, it's a different person.
Not a lot. I just saw it. I watched it I saw it in the theater, and I saw it I happened to be playing on the plane as we were flying. I was flying to Toronto, and I just watched it again. Just mostly, honestly, it's less about Finn's performance and just like the tone of the movie. Just kind of getting like, oh, this is the kind of tone of the thing, and just doing that.
You were interested in imparting after the experience of the first movie.
Well, it's funny because like we didn't have a huge conversation about it because our counterparts could kind of just watch the movie and see what we did and kind of just mishmash their own thing together, amazing thing together, and so, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I said too, like actually, that made it incredibly easy because I'm really lazy to be like, that's what he did. People really like him. All right, I'll just try to copy that the best that I can.
Right.
And then Andy's attention to detail is so good that for Jack, Dylan Grazer has some idiosyncrasies that, you know, like if I missed it, he would be like, can you do this? Because Jack did this in the first one. So it's like, sure.
Were there things that the actors found about the tics you had as actors in your first part that you were like, I didn't even know I did that?
Yep. Yeah.
What's one for you?
Like kind of like the stutter thing.
Interesting.
Like the neurotic, like sporadic. like glancing and like the darting places. I didn't know that I did that. And then Andy said that he's like do the dart look places. I was like, why? And he's like, because you did that in the first one. I was like, oh.
He was speaking so fast in the first one that I thought like, I don't know if I can actually do, like I'm old and tired. and then I didn't really practice that much. But yeah, I just went in and did it the best that I could. Yeah.
Did he review your performance?
No. Yeah. I was wearing an earwig.
Like
he'd be like, no, idiot, stop. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And then I'd walk away, like I'd be in tears, and no one knew what was going on because I was wearing a little earpiece.
I dig his sense of humor. I feel like he'd have like a really fun, snarky way to come at that.
I didn't notice it from the first one. I just tried to keep up with Jack Dylan Grazer's speed, but he would always do this. If you notice, he would do this thing, and I didn't incorporate it. But Andy was so attention to detail. He'd be like, "Can you try to do this?" And when I get really angry in a conversation with him, so that's like a little sort of like idiosyncrasy that Jack had that I would try to do.
I try to do that. Chosen does this thing where he holds his arm like this, and I tried to do that, and Andy told me stop. He's like, don't do that.
Why? He's like, that looks weird.
I don't know. No, it probably didn't look right. You know what I mean? Like, but he was like, you don't have to do that.
Actually, I was talking with Isaiah. He said that he tried to do your kind of like hold the elbow thing. And
he doesn't try.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah. Oh, I heard. He told me Andy kind of told him to shut it down.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Which thing? You know how like I just did this. Like,
yeah.
Because I was so.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So sad.
That's good.
When I first met him, actually I did a photo shoot like maybe a year ago, and he did the same exact pose. I was like, "Whoa, you're a crazy guy."
So strange watching that. Everybody else around me was like, that you act exactly like that, and I just thought that was fantastic how she just picked up every kind of the tics that I use and she did it on the screen very naturally.
What's more important? Is it sort of studying the performance of the original that Sophia gave, or is it sort of meeting Sophia and learning more about her?
For me, the most important thing was the performance she gave, because it's such a great blueprint for who Bev was when she was a kid and where she's going. Of course, I loved meeting herself and talking to her about how she approached the character, but most of our conversations were about Beverly.
She would ask for advice for the role, and I didn't know what to say because, she's Jessica Chastain. I was like, you're a great actress.
You're like, girl, you got this.
You
know
got
what
this.
you're doing.
You know what you're doing. More than me, probably. So.
Definitely.
Thanks. Good luck. But no, yeah, she was very nice to me. She was very sweet, and yeah, she seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say, and
I'm sure
I loved that about her.
What was the first time you ever saw your older actor playing your character in full costume, and what was your reaction to it? How was it? Is it almost like an outer body experience?
No, it's just like, you know, because all of our characters kind of have like different style, you know, like 27 years in the future, so it almost doesn't feel real. So it was really, really cool to see that happen.
Yeah.
I kind of related to Looper, the movie.
Oh, that's
very much like that, like just kind of very like, oh shoot, that is me, and he is I.
That is me.
And that is we.
But with no killing.
No killing.
Stuff.
Her little boy.
Yeah, so no killing in this movie, guys.
No, this is a family.
No, this is a
Hey, this is a
rom-com.
family affair. Take
rom-com.
your 3-year-old.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of James play me, and the interesting thing about it is that they are different people now that they've grown up, and so he's kind of like an evolved version of Bill, and it's really interesting to see like what my character would have been like grown up, and it kind of feels like it feels nice. It's a familiar feeling when it's like seeing someone you know grow up and watching them grow. It's kind of like that, but it's a character.
And then just try to kind of rip off his best qualities, which seem to be like openness and vulnerability, and then getting all that guilt with the character.
I mean, I was surprised what Jeremy wrote, and you know, Ben's perspective as a child was kind of similar to what I had been preparing before I got to set. And a lot of it had to do with Beverly, and I guess his fears, or Ben's fears of, you know, becoming lonely in life, which kind of plays out in those 27 years. So yeah, it was cool. It was nice to know that I was bang on in that kind of realm. But I took a lot from watching the first film too. There's this beautiful moment where Jeremy Ray Taylor, who plays young Ben, he when he first meets Bev, and he almost blushes on cue, which is incredibly hard to do, you know.
Again, in particular, there's a moment where he first meets Beverly in chapter 1, and she signs his yearbook, and he's listening to New Kids on the Block, and she says something about the new kid, and he blushes on cue.
So I kind of took that that feeling and infused it into the adult version.
And it's just the sweetest moment. So I took that to infuse into the older Ben. I thought it was a really nice moment to take in as a kind of gateway into the character.
Jessica Chastain did so good.
Yes, Mike.
Her mannerisms are spot on.
So similar to yours.
No, but yeah, Isaiah, Mr. Isaiah, very awesome, very cool guy. We're very similar in actual life, so it's kind of weird seeing someone very much like you, and he plays you. It's very cool.
I think the casting is really interesting for this one because, like, in my opinion, everyone looks like their older counterpart and vice versa, and everyone even acts similar. Like Chosen and Isaiah Mustafa, they act really, really similar, and just like their mannerisms and everything.
And yeah, I hope I look like James McAvoy. But I don't know. Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, she looks a lot like me. We kind of have the same nose and the chin, and she's a wonderful actress, so she can kind of act like me on screen.
Right.
And I remember watching it, and it kind of did. I don't know what about it, but it did kind of remind me of me when I did it, and everyone else was like, she acts exactly like you.
He's great. I mean, he like looks scarily like me. Like you don't really see it at first, but it really gets there. And
it was kind of a spitting image, actually. Like, I wouldn't say visually yet. When I first met him, it wasn't like, whoa, he looks just so much like me.
He does though, with the eyes and the mouth.
He does pretty much.
Intensity. They have the same head shape.
I think he looks like Eddie. I don't think he looks like me. I think he looks like Eddie.
All right, good point. Good point. Okay. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's uncanny. I think at the beginning, I wasn't like, you know, like obviously we look alike.
But then you look at him a lot. You have a conversation, and you're like, wow.
Once you meet them and you like realize that you're sitting the exact same, and it's just really strange. So yeah, weird. It's uncanny.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy how much you guys look alike.
Yeah. Except, hopefully, I don't lose all my hair.
Right.
But that's not a dig. It's a
true.
fact. But I'm fine with that. I'll be fine if I lose my hair.
Okay, in one word, what was your reaction when you heard who was going to be your adult self, and what was it like watching them trying to be you?
Sick.
Oh.
So that's what PJ's was to when he got the part. Sick.
Oh, I just said oh. That's my one word. Oh. It changed over the course of time, but at first it was
Changed from O to O to O.
My word is flattered.
Flattered.
I used to talk about him a lot and wanted. No, not PJ. That'd be weird. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool that he ended up doing it.
Impressed. Very impressed.
Scrawfair.
My reaction to it or how he played it? One word for how he played it was also impressed. And my reaction was shocked.
When I first heard she was gonna pick me, I guess I felt relieved. I mean, like, I thought she was perfect for the role, so having her actually accept the role, I was very relieved about that.
Okay, so first of all, you guys, your older counterparts had the task of sort of emulating you guys. If you can, any of you do an impression of your older counterpart or
Yes.
Pennywise? Okay, go.
Done.
The Rolling Stones is a boy band. Rolling Stones, totally a boy band. I know a bunch of conspiracies, but I'm not going to indulge because it's going to waste my time, and I don't have time to like use my brain power right now.
Okay, Ryan.
And
Well, he's from New Zealand, so he's kind of like, his accent's all over the place.
Hi there.
His
Hi.
accent. It's like, you don't really know where he's from because his accent's always
And he
different.
talks very quiet.
But he has a jacket on all the time.
That was very good.
Where is she?
Yours was
easy.
He's got way sexier after
No,
you did
that's
that
hard to
impression.
do. Accent is hard to do.
Squish. James McAvoy. He's like super.
Oi!
Oi! Oi! I'm from
Jaden!
Scotland. Oi!
I don't know how to do it.
My pups.
I'm Andy Bean.
Oh my.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Bill Hader. Oh, I'm Bill Hader.
I don't even know. I know British now. He's British now.
No, that's how he talks.
Isaiah, I feel like Isaiah and me are one and the same. So he'd be like, "Oh yeah, Old Spice, yes."
Oh, that's really good.
That
Yeah,
was
hold
really
on, do Bill again. Arg, mateys, walk the plank.
Nailed it.
He does that all the
Tens
time.
across
Oh my god.
But also, Jessica is also hard to imitate.
You can take a hard
She's
pass
just
if you
you.
want.
She's just you, but like
Okay.
She's like
Hi.
me,
I don't know.
nicer.
That was good. That was
just
good.
super
She
nice.
does have a higher voice.
Hi! I'm
Yeah,
so
she has a higher voice than
nice.
Sophia.
Yeah.
Well done, everybody.
Thank you.
Well done.
I mean, like, I couldn't have asked for a better experience. I mean, I'm talking about the first one. The second one was terrible.
I saw that kid and I was like, that kid's a freak. He's got such raw, natural. What he's able to do on camera, and have you seen like the behind the scenes stuff and his like ability to improv? It's just, it's not you can't teach that to a person.
Yeah.
It's so raw and so like, I'm like, oh man, that's crazy, you know? And then there's similar things. There's stuff that I see kind of like in a overarching that has not little to do with our like actual like the day-to-day stuff that we're into, but I'm like, oh, I can kind of track what I think your life is gonna look like, you know. I think things will be hard for him at a certain point because you can't have a brain that fast. It's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult to relate to people.
I mean, that's interesting that you put it that way.
Yeah.
Did you guys like ever? I mean, this is like
No,
a deep
he's like
question. You ever?
because he's like 16 and I'm like a 40-year-old man. Like, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't want anything to do
Sit
with
around,
me.
get some drinks.
Yeah, it's like me
yeah,
talking to
that's
him
not
about his
happening.
life is like the most boring thing that he could possibly imagine.
Then it'll come a point when he really
I don't
appreciates
think he's
it,
gonna
though.
have a hard life for any other reason than like I just know what it's like to be able to like to have the synapses fire that
Yeah.
fast, and sometimes you start to go like you can become really self-conscious, and then you're like, wait, what's wrong with me? But nothing, right? Like that's the
Right.
thing, and then you know, but it can be when you're young, that shit can bring up insecurity, you know. So, or not, because he's also like
Yeah.
a famous movie star,
I
and
was gonna-
everything might be fine for
hopefully
him.
his career track will prevent that
Yeah,
sort
so-
of.
well,
No, I'm-
you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, he's doing good things right now. He
No, no,
He's having one
I
heck
don't-
of a year.
Wait, hold on a second. Like, just to be clear, I just feel like I know what it's like to be a sensitive person who thinks very quickly, and it's not always the easiest thing in the entire world. And only with age have I been, because I just don't care anymore. That's really the simple answer.
I haven't seen much what he's done with the role, but I think he did an amazing job. I'm gonna just tell you that now. That's my opinion.
I'll say the same thing.